This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are we doing today on a Friday? It's the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com. Hope you and yours are doing well today as we're entering the weekend, a holy weekend. It is a very good Friday, and I hope everybody who celebrates it has a good Friday and a holy weekend. We are live on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com, on the BamaCentral YouTube channel, Facebook page. You're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You can find the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. We're here with my man Theo Fernandez. We're not in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios today as I am on location, but we appreciate Derek Daniel for sponsoring the program. You can call him for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel is there. We're also proudly presented by Purple Turtle Roofing, your one-stop shop for all of your roofing needs in the West Alabama area, really in the whole state of Alabama. You can visit roofturtle.com for all of the Purple Turtle Roofing products and services, and to schedule yourself a free roof inspection, just check them out online at roofturtle.com. We're going to have a little fun today with Theo. Follow him at Theo Fernandez _. And then what we're going to do today is talk about Greg Byrne. Greg Byrne and Kirby Smart coming out in the last week talking about the SEC championship, the fate of the SEC championship game. Is it going away? Is it time for it to be discontinued? Is the SEC championship game worth anything anymore in the 12-team playoff era? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Auburn Tigers, as Alex Golesh has put in a new practice period that he thinks is going to turn the Iron Bowl around. Yeah, Auburn hasn't won the Iron Bowl in several years. So Alex Golesh, first-year head coach, trying to change some things around. And we'll talk about what he is doing on the Plains to get ready for the season finale here in Tuscaloosa. And then, of course, we will talk about Alabama baseball because the baseball team rolled last night in Norman, got things taken care of in quick fashion, let everybody get to bed early as they handled business. They did let Oklahoma creep back into it a little bit, but handled their business and got out to a one-game lead in that three-game series. So we'll talk about that with Theo Fernandez. Theo, you look great this morning. How are you? Good morning. How are we feeling? You excited about the weekend? What's on tap for you?
Doing great weekend. You know, obviously, Holy Week right now, spending a lot of time around the church and all of that, but also just great baseball being played this weekend. Really, I'm just going to sit down and watch baseball all day today. We don't have classes, and then Alabama's playing at 1 p.m., which means that my whole afternoon is now freed out to watch Georgia, Mississippi State, Auburn, Arkansas, some of the big-time college baseball matchups across the country. So I've got a fun weekend here.
There you go. A lot of baseball, a little bit of a reflection as well, and a big day on Sunday ahead for everybody, I believe. So let's get right into it. We'll save the baseball for the end. Let's get right into it with Greg Byrne. Greg Byrne, yesterday, an article was released by Blake Toppenmeyer, USA Today. We did aggregate it on BamaCentral.com, so if you wanted to see the most important parts of that article, you can see it right there on BamaCentral. But Greg Byrne says, I think the ship has sailed. It's run its course on the SEC championship game. It's a great event. I don't like the idea of it going away, but I think it's reality with the expanded playoffs. So cracks open the can of worms that the SEC championship game is now irrelevant in the college football playoff era. And we did this debate a handful of times around the SEC championship game this year as we worried about Alabama being in or out with the result, what was going to happen, how was the committee going to view the game. And obviously, you all remember Georgia beat the brakes off of Alabama, but neither team moved in the polls, and both teams were in the college football playoff. So you have a large contingent of people that say the game didn't matter. Well, Kirby Smart and company took a trophy home and they are SEC champions. Tell them it didn't matter. But Kirby Smart followed it right up and echoed some of the sentiments that Greg Byrne said, saying the SEC championship game, not sure its place anymore in the landscape of college football. So, Theo, what do you think about this? Are we seeing the last days of the SEC championship game?
Well, before we do the real deep dive into all the semantics and everything, I just want to first look at it from why this is such a bad look from an outside perspective. Spend my whole life hearing about the SEC. It just means more. We're the premier conference in college sports. Yet here we are discussing the idea of getting rid of your conference championship game over the national scene, right? To me, just externally, it looks bad for Greg Byrne, right? You get killed in the SEC championship, and then you're talking about getting rid of it. And I know it doesn't tie into the rankings. I'm more looking at how this looks externally. And then just the idea of this supposed top conference in college athletics not playing a game between its two best teams to crown a champion. It's just a horrible look without doing a deep dive, and I know we'll do that next.
Oh, yeah. Well, honestly, I'm with you there, Theo. If you're the premier conference and you say you are and you own it and you want to be that, and look, you're the fathers of the conference championship game. It was Roy Kramer back before Theo was even thought of, that you started in 92 with an SEC, and you revolutionized the sport by making this the first weekend in December a really, really prime weekend for college football. Now it's evolved into a weekend where there is 5 or 6 championship, 7 or 8 conference championship games just going down the line. And it really, really has become a thing. Kirby Smart, I want to just read his quote right here. Kirby Smart is in favor of eliminating the SEC championship game if the college football playoff is expanded to 16 or 24 teams. If it stays at 12, he says he wants to keep the SEC championship game around. Here's his quote. But I want to know the parameters of it before we did anything. Where we are right now with 12 teams, I don't necessarily agree that it needs to quit being played. But if it gets to 16 or 24, we've got to move the end of the season up. We've got to get everything done by the second week of January. Then I say it probably has to go. The important thing is we need to gain something, meaning that we are playing that weekend in the first round of the playoff when the SEC championship game is normally being played, and playing the season out like an NFL playoff system. But if we're going to leave it where it is now with 12 teams in the playoff, then I am not for removing the SEC championship game. I just found it interesting, Greg Byrne's comments, because you have 2 years now. 2 years now where the loser of the SEC championship game stays in the college football playoff field. And you have evidence now. I mean, the Georgia Texas game, it was fairly close, was it not? Let me double check. Texas, Georgia.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty competitive.
2024. 22-19. Really, really close. Really, really close. And obviously, we remember last year's game was not close at all. But so now you see 2 different losers. Oh, I lost a close SEC title game and stayed in the field. Oh, I got my doors blown off and I stayed in the field. So we have seen that it doesn't really impact, through 2 years of evidence, it doesn't really impact a losing team standing on the playoff field. And so while you've got this argument of, it doesn't matter, we shouldn't play it, it's going to hurt teams. Well, 2 years in a row, it hasn't hurt you. So, Theo, from where I stand as somebody covering the game and covering the sport, I don't want the SEC championship game to be eliminated at all. I was born 3 years before the first SEC championship game happened. So it's been a part of my life, basically all of my life. And growing up in an SEC household, growing up following the Georgia Bulldogs, where they didn't make the SEC championship game for many, many years, I remember it being a big deal when Georgia finally made it to their first SEC title game. It's a big weekend. And to me, every single year, whether Alabama is in it or not, it is the marquee event of the weekend, the SEC title game. And so I understand the trepidation behind playing an extra game. You've already played 9 now conference games, and that'll be a 10th conference game. And are you really setting your conference favorites, your 2 conference favorites, up for playoff success? I understand that that's a big question because neither Georgia, Texas, or Georgia, Alabama in the last 4 years won the college football playoff after playing in the extra SEC championship game, after playing the SEC season. And so there is a question about, okay, are we hurting our 2 top teams by making them play an extra game against a quality opponent in a situation that doesn't really get them that much closer to a playoff victory, a playoff national championship? And so I do understand the what's it worth question, what's the value question. But maybe for me, being a little bit older, Theo, I still see the value in we're kings of this conference. We're the champions of this conference going into a playoff scenario. Whether you lose in the first round, you lose in the second round, whatever, you can still have our SEC conference title trophy in the trophy case and, have the rings and print the T-shirts off to sell to your fan. I think it still is valuable in the sense of we are champions of this conference. Greg Byrne said his alternative is to have the first place team at the top of the standings get the automatic qualifying bid from the college football playoff committee, which, I'm sorry, to say this, but it sounds good on one hand, but look at it underneath. Who was the first place team in the SEC standings this past year before getting their doors blown off by the Georgia Bulldogs? It's it does make sense when you think about it. Well, how would you decide the automatic qualifier? Well, it would be the first place team. Yes, that makes sense. But then look at it under the hood. It's Greg, this is just sounding fun, sounding silly, in my opinion. Sounding a little silly, sounding a little, we just want to make sure we're in good position to be in the playoff. We don't want to play an extra game. What if we lose? What if we get hurt? Oh, will it help us? To me, winning an SEC championship game still means a lot.
I do too. I hate this whole dialogue, man. And, the soft Eastern Conference is what this is becoming because this whole dialogue is soft. That is the only word that comes to mind right now. I've said many times how I feel about potential expansion. I hate it. It'll probably happen regardless, even if it does. You figure out, you play the game to find the best team in your conference. First of all, the money attached, right? That shouldn't even have to be said. How much money is brought in by playing this game between 2 massive brands every single year. Second off, what have these games meant in the past, right? The history of your conference and the way it has been enriched by playing these championships, the great moments, the rivalries that have been enhanced by, we're going to go head-to-head in this conference championship game. Even now, right, you lose the East-West component, and sometimes it just creates more chaos with who knows who is going to go head-to-head. Right? Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Georgia. You've had three of your biggest brands play in the SEC championship. That's going to continue. Why would anybody want to even entertain a world where you don't play this game? I'm pretty baffled by it, if we're being honest.
Well, you ask why would anybody want to entertain it? I'll look through the other lens. They want to entertain it because, if Alabama hadn't played it, you can take the Georgia angle as well. If Georgia hadn't played Texas 2 years ago and Carson Beck doesn't bust up his elbow and they're in a better spot to take on a national championship run. And same thing for the Alabama side this year. If Alabama doesn't play Georgia, that's an extra week of rest for who all was it? Josh Cuevas was out. I mean, it was everybody. Jam Miller was on one leg. Almost every you had 6 or 7 guys that were really, really banged up and tried to play through it and, got embarrassed in the process. And so you do have the narrative of, well, it cost Georgia. Georgia won the SEC championship game last year, but they lost their starting quarterback and thus were in bad position in the college football play. I mean, that's objectively true.
Yeah, but Kirby just talked about the world where we're replacing the game with going right into postseason, like tournament play. So it's not it's.
That's the argument and where it's going, because Greg Byrne did basically say what I'd rather do, because you can't just not have games that weekend. You can't just not have, because that's lost revenue, lost money, lost time on the calendar. You got to finish the season in a timely fashion. He wants to play that first, expand it to 16 and play the first set of games that weekend. And so you would be playing that weekend, but you'd already be playing in the college football playoff. And if you were, say, the top line team in the SEC, there's a chance that I don't know how they would format the bracket, but there's a chance you'd be on a bye. There's a chance that you wouldn't be playing in that first weekend because you'd be a 1, 2, 3, 4 seed roughly, and you'd be waiting. Now, you could structure the bracket any sort of way. You might be playing that first weekend, 16 teams. You could make everybody play the first round, and you might be playing a 2 versus 15, 3 versus 14 type seeding game. But he wants to replace it with first round games. Basically, what this is an argument on what is meaningful football. What is football? Like, is the SEC championship game meaningful football or not? And I guess that's the crux of the argument, because if you don't want to play the SEC championship game and you want to skip straight to college football playoff, well, you're telling me that the SEC title game isn't meaningful football. And I guess you could. I mean, I see that argument when you talk about how it didn't affect Texas, Georgia, or Alabama in the last 2 years. But to me, the trophy is still, and maybe that's just me, old man yells at cloud, or old man stands on the porch, says, get off my lawn. To me, the trophy still dadgum matters.
You need it too. You need a new tagline. You cannot sit around and say it just means more. This is quite literally saying that, no, it doesn't mean anything. You are bowing down to the national landscape, and it's just such a reflection of the way things have shifted. Do not call yourself the premier conference in college athletics if you don't even think it's worth it, if you don't think it's meaningful for you to figure out who the best team in your conference is. That's what it all comes down to for me. First of all, if you look at the calendar and the scheduling, I wouldn't hate the move to 16 as much as I'm against expansion. Like, whatever. You're already playing games in that round anyway. May as well make it harder for everyone to win, right? May as well get rid of the first round bye. So whatever. If you're going to expand, do it to 16, and you can keep the calendar relatively the same. You also, look, how much time do you take off in the postseason, right? You have skipped weeks. I get the tradition. Like, you always want to play the New Year's Six Bowls on the actual dates, December 31st, January 1st. I think that should stay, but I think that's the only thing you should accommodate the schedule around. You shouldn't be skipping weeks elsewhere, right? I don't know. At the end of the day, I think it would be ridiculous to even consider getting rid of conference championships. And you talk about, right, the SEC championship. You said it's like the headliner of that championship weekend. That weekend is one of the best weekends of the season, beyond just the SEC. I sit down and watch every conference championship game. Every window that there are games being played, I'm watching, because it is phenomenal.
Thursday all the way to Saturday, the late Saturday night.
Like, how can you argue against this? How could you watch Jacksonville State play for a conference championship against, I believe, was it Kennesaw? Yeah, it was Kennesaw State, right? And that's a meaningful game for both those schools. And SEC gets rid of conference championships, and the Big Ten follows suit. Next thing you know, you've gotten rid of this whole weekend. Why are we even talking about heading in that direction? I hate it.
Well, the last thing for me is going back to Greg Byrne's comment about the automatic qualifier would go to the team at the top of the standings. Well, That absolutely makes sense. Love it. I mean, it does make sense. But here's the thing. Didn't Georgia deserve a chance to avenge their loss, their home loss? I mean, Georgia walked through the schedule really, really unchallenged outside of the Alabama home game and the Ole Miss home game. They pretty much handled everybody else. They had a close game with Tennessee as well on the road, but Georgia handled most of their schedule fairly well. They were a top 5 team all season long, and I think that a championship game scenario where you can play a team that's beat you and be better than them 3 months later, 2 months later, whatever it is, 10 weeks later, roughly, you can be better than them and show it on the field and walk away with a champion. Because look, I mean, would I have enjoyed saying Alabama 2025 SEC champions because there's no game and you finished at the top of the standings on a tiebreaker because the schedules are unbalanced and Ole Miss didn't really get a chance to play a lot of the other top end teams in the conference except for Georgia. So they ended up like third instead of Alabama being third. And it just is a silly way to determine who the conference champion is based on unbalanced schedules. Now, the schedules are being balanced a little bit better with a 9-game schedule now coming up. But still, you're going to have scenarios like this in the future. Make it Alabama. Make it Alabama. You lost a week 4 or 5 game to opponent X, Y, or Z, and you're watching Alabama get better through the year, and you're thinking, man, I think Alabama could get opponent X, Y, Z if they got a second chance, and I think they can get them. I think they can get them. No, you want that opportunity. You want that opportunity to avenge that loss and to go into the playoff with a lot of momentum because you did avenge that loss. Now, Georgia just ended up, losing a crazy game to Ole Miss, but like you're right there in that Ole Miss game in the Sugar Bowl, ready to advance to basically the finals, semifinals. I think it is a short-sighted idea to get rid of the SEC champion and all conference championship games. I think it's a short-sighted idea, and it is a symptom of our playoff culture where nothing matters except for the national champions. You brought up Kennesaw State. Look, Kennesaw State, you ain't never winning the college football national championship. You're never. I'm sorry. Alabama could and will and might again. Georgia could and will and might again. Kennesaw State never, ever will. And it's fine to say that. What they had last year was a conference title that mattered to them and went bowling and celebratory and big moment and history. I don't think you should be getting rid of any of these conference title games. I mean, Duke winning the ACC. They're going to have that for the rest of those Duke alums will have that season. I think it means something to the people in the colleges to see said school play in said national or said conference championship game. And really, Theo, that's all I got on that.
I agree. I can't believe we're even discussing this.
But we are, and we will, and we'll see what happens next with the fate of college football and conference championship games. I suspect that I'm in the minority, Theo. I suspect we're both in the minority, and I suspect that you will see a push over the next 3 years with expansion. I think it'll probably stay put as they argue, and they stay at 12. But once they settle on an expansion past 16 or 24, I think you will see a discontinuation of the conference title games, and I hate that.
24 would be ridiculous. I mean, get out of here. If we go to 24.
Talk to the Big Ten. That's what they want. You have the ACC, SEC, and Big 12 all set on a 16-team plan, 5 automatic qualifiers, 11 at-larges. Boom, there you go, 16, you're in. But the Big Ten has stayed flag in the middle, planting their flag. We want 24, and so they're at an impasse.
I can't be the only one who misses the 14 playoff, right?
I wish we would have gone somewhere between 4 and 12 and settled at 8. I think 8 would have been a really nice number, but the college football world got too greedy.
I'll say whatever number they settle on, it shouldn't. I hate the idea of first-round buys in the playoff. March Madness, do we have first-round buys? Play your games. I do not like the idea of giving teams a jump to the like to the next round, especially in a world where we're getting rid of conference championships. Like, if anything, if you are going to earn a first round bye, you should at least play for it and really prove why you deserve it. I think I would honestly, part of me would prefer a 16 team to this current 12 team format, because I think it does get rid of some of the seeding advantages that exist. And I think it makes everyone's path a little more even and maybe opens the door for a little more chaos. Not that we had a decent amount of chaos, right? But I like the idea of just, go out and win 4 games to win the title, if anything.
Right. So we'll see what happens. This makes me a little upset to think about the conference title games going away. Let's keep moving here, Theo, and talk about the Auburn Tigers. Transition ourselves into the Auburn Tigers, as Auburn has a new head coach this year, Alex Golesh. We're all familiar with Alex Golesh, as he has been at South Florida for the last handful of years. But now is at Auburn. The Auburn faithful saw Alex Golesh give Alabama 2 really, really challenging games and think, oh, that's our guy. He almost beat Nick Saban. He almost beat Kalen DeBoer. Maybe he can come to Auburn and almost beat Alabama some more. And in order to do that, he's trying to break how many years is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Oh my gosh. This year was one for the thumb. I didn't even realize this year was the thumb year. Alabama trying to extend their winning streak to 7 years in a row this year in Tuscaloosa over the Auburn Tigers. And Alex Golesh, in an effort to get his team thinking about their rivalry, has created a new period at practice, Theo. And I want to get your thoughts on the Iron Bowl period at Auburn practice. Golesh is playing Dixieland Delight over the speakers at Auburn practice and putting a period, whether it be 5, 8, 12-minute period, where all they're doing is ramping up the intensity to be ready for Alabama in the season finale, because we want to practice like it's the Iron Bowl. We want to get after it. We want to change the rivalry. Alex Golesh, how he is do you like this move of playing Dixieland Delight, creating an Iron Bowl period in your practice, or do you think he's overemphasizing the rivalry and thus going to make his team too tight, going to make them overthink about it? You know how people get when they put too much pressure on themselves. Is this a good move for Alex Golesh, or is it going to backfire on the Auburn Tigers?
What would you want Alabama to do in this situation, right? You've lost all these games, which obviously we saw back about 2 decades ago, but you've lost all these games in a row. You have a fan base that's just sick and desperate for a win. I'd prepare them right away. I would do probably exactly what Golesh is doing right now, because at the end of the day, this Auburn team, we don't know what it'll look like on the field.
Bad.
It probably won't be great, like you said. You know that you're likely going to be in a position to redeem a season late, right? You know, and a lot of the way this season will be viewed will be, well, you came in and, the team went 7-6. Wow, you beat Alabama. You ended the drought. You did it in Tuscaloosa nonetheless, right? Like, you're preparing for all that. I think it's beneficial, if anything, to address the crimson elephant in the room as early as possible.
You don't think there's this, I don't know, making too much of the game going on? Because really and truly, you said, what do you want? What would you want Alabama to do in the other? What I would want them to do is shut up and do the work. No gimmicks, no family, no music, kind of at it. You know, we're getting war painted up. No rah rah. You shouldn't need an Iron Bowl period. Like, are you trying to get better? Are you trying to get better? Are you trying to become a better football team today? 1% better today? Or are you already thinking about a team that you're going to play in 8 months, 9 months? That are you setting up that game as the make or break for your entire season? Now, maybe you are, and I think that's a really risky move. But if who the heck does Auburn open with? Auburn football.
Do they play Baylor again?
They open with they might open with Baylor. Oh, over in Atlanta, right? Yes. They moved it over to Atlanta, right? You're opening with Baylor in Atlanta. That's not a bad football team. It's going to be a big environment. How about you just focus on the first game? Focus on the first, because if you are exactly as you said, if you're 7-6, well, going into that last game, if you're 6-6, yeah, you can save your season and have it go out on a high note, become bowl eligible by beating Alabama. But if you're 8-3, right? That's 11. If you're 8-3, and because you've been handling your business through the rest of the season, sure, you might go 8-4 and lose to Alabama, but you're feeling the Auburn faithful are feeling good about 8-4, even if you lost to Alabama. 8-4 is good. Like, first game's first. You've got a chance. This Auburn schedule. What you got?
This schedule is brutal. It is awful.
Yeah, Baylor, you can win it. Southern Miss, you can win it. Florida at home, you can win it. Vandy at home, you could win it. You probably could lose it. At Tennessee, you could lose. I got 4-2 at Georgia. I've got 4-3 with LSU coming. I got 4-4 at Ole Miss. I got 5-4 with Arkansas, 6-4 at State, 7-4 with Samford. I got you at 7-4 going into that Iron Bowl. 7-5 is not a bad year. Like, focus on the first week against Baylor. I think my perception is you're making too big of a deal out of this, and what you need to do is handle it one play at a time, one practice at a time. You make too much of a deal of the last game of the season. I don't know. I don't really feel good about that, Theo.
I just think you're such a long way from the season, right? And I get how that plays into your argument, but I think at the end of the week, you got to do different things to motivate a team. You've got to do different things to, like November feels so far away right now, but you practice for a couple weeks right now, and the next thing you know, you return in the end of July, and we're staring down the season. So I don't really have a problem with, putting it in the back of your guys' minds right now, right? Knowing what this team is coming into. Obviously, you have a decent amount of new players on this Tigers team. I don't honestly think I don't think it's worth even making a huge deal over right now, right? It's just how many different things does a team do 8 months before a season to get guys ready, right?
Well, my other comment on this, Theo, is if you're going to play Dixieland Delight at Auburn practice, okay, all right, because you want to get ready for how it's going to sound in Bryant-Denny Stadium at the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, maybe that first break in the fourth quarter. It just kind of depends on how the game plays out. But you want to prepare. You want to get your guys' mindsets right. Well, you need to play the right version. You need to play the version that's on the track with the crowd dubbed over, beat Auburn. Because, obviously, you don't want to be blaring the F word over the loudspeakers on campus because it's a family atmosphere. But when you come to Tuscaloosa over the loudspeakers, you're going to get the dubbed over crowd version of beat Auburn. So you may as well play the version you're going to hear in Tuscaloosa to get ready for it.
I'm right with you on that one, yeah.
So we'll see. Auburn trying to get ready for the season, trying to fire up the fan base, trying to get behind Alex Golesh. First impression here, actually, we're past first impression, but a couple months in with Alex Golesh. You think this is a good hire, or you think they're going to be going back to the drawing board in 3 years?
I think it was about as good a hire as he could have made. I think Golesh, you can see the path to success, right? You can see a guy who's done some really nice things in his career right now, and from a national standpoint, I feel kind of neutral, leaning positive about it. Auburn fans, I think, should have a lot of reasons to be excited.
Yeah, I love this guy at South Florida, and I thought he was a big-time hire. I thought he was a hire that would have taken a program forward without being the headliner guy as far as, this is the top name in the coaching cycle. I thought he was a really good coach, and I think he's going to give Auburn a chance of getting off the mat and getting their program some life again. I have been a little concerned over these couple of months. It hasn't seemed like it's gone as smoothly as I would have predicted for him. But I think you just got to give him a little bit of time to create a foundation right there. I do think that he is a really quality football coach, and I think he's a heck of a motivator, which this is obviously part of. I do think he's a heck of a motivator. I think he's a really good game planner, and I think he's going to put Auburn on the front foot. We'll see if they can string steps together, but I think he will put them on the front foot to take some steps right there on the Plains.
I agree. Now, speaking of Auburn coaches who are trying to build up a foundation, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with the national college basketball landscape. Really disappointing season for Auburn basketball. But I have nothing but respect for a program that is willing to accept the bad and say, you know what? This didn't go our way. We didn't make the tournament. We're going to do the next best thing. Auburn has advanced to the NIT championship, and the online discourse is just nothing but laughing at them. The NIT is a historic event that has meant a lot across the history of college basketball and also has given programs opportunities to leapfrog forward and to build up for the next season. And I see Auburn, in the locker room after winning their NIT semifinal game over Illinois State, happy. Like, what other option was there for this team to end the season feeling positive? I look at this and I'm saying, I think Stephen Pearl, despite all of the bad that happened this year, this is building something. And if I was an Auburn fan, I would be pretty excited. Obviously, you haven't beaten the best competition, right? And that is because most of the nation has gone soft. Because most of the nation says, you know what, we're not willing to go and stick it out through this NIT. We're just going to call it quits. Or we'll go play a bunch of glorified exhibitions at the Crown in Vegas. And I really respect Auburn for actually going and trying to keep the spirit of the NIT alive, because this used to be such a special event. And I hope that teams start playing in it again. When I look at this, you're going to have guys, obviously, who go into the portal, right? But you're going to have returners, and you've already had guys who haven't played in certain NIT games, right? The guys who are returning, how big is this for them? Playing as a team in big games with an end goal in mind, with a chance to lift a trophy. Auburn is going to be better because of this experience. And they probably are going to win their championship game, which I want to say is it tonight? It might be tonight. Might be Sunday. I think it's tonight, though, and they're probably going to win that game.
NIT championship, I'm looking at Tulsa and Auburn, right? Yep. Sunday, April 5th at 7 o'clock. Okay.
If I was an Auburn fan, I would be excited about this game against a Tulsa team that was solid this year. I mean, they had one of their highest win totals in a season. The NIT is a cool event, man. And don't hate on a program for trying to better itself in this moment, making the most of what would have been otherwise a lost season.
The not invited tournament. No, I am with you, though, on the outside. I love that joke, but I am with your sentiment. Like, Auburn, what option did you have? Quit the season or play in the NIT? Well, the obvious answer is play in the NIT. And you can talk about, well, we're going to lose this player or that player, or he's going to quit the pro. Fine. Just play with what you got. Play with who's on the roster, and do exactly what you're doing. I agree with your sentiment, Theo. I am kind of a Stephen Pearl detractor, but I think that this is the proper move. This is the right response to being left out of the tournament, is to, hey, we're going to play the games that are in front of us. We're going to extend our season as long as we can. And I also agree that for the returners, the experience that they're getting playing in the NIT is very valuable. I think it's honestly the most valuable for Stephen Pearl, because Stephen Pearl gets to have a little bit of, this is my tournament experience. Obviously went through a lot of tournament experience with his father as an assistant coach. But it's different when you're in the head chair. It's different when you're the one making all the decisions. Obviously, he's got plenty of NCAA tournament experience as an assistant. But now that he's in the head chair, he gets to navigate, well, this is how I might do a postseason in my program. These are the things that you have to deal with as a head coach. These are some of the game planning and the procedural things that you got to deal with. I think this is very, very important for Stephen Pearl's journey as a head coach. So I agree with you definitely. And while I don't share your sentiment of, ooh, NIT fun, love it, got to watch it, I think this is the exact right response for a team that was left out of the NCAA tournament. If you have an opportunity to keep playing basketball, to keep playing whatever your season is, in this case basketball, then you should do that. You should take it all the way to the end of the line, especially with the fact that the portal doesn't open officially until Tuesday. I can play all the way through the NIT, play in the finals, win or lose on Sunday's final, and then go to the portal and figure out my next moves? Great. Well, that's what you should be doing. So we don't applaud Auburn too much on the show, but I will agree with you, Theo. It is the right move that Auburn embraced their opportunity in the NIT and is playing in the finals. Now, if they win on Sunday, are you going to have a bunch of Auburn fans going on the social media machines, beating their chest over an NIT championship, touting Stephen Pearl's coaching ability and touting his first season as a success? Or will it just be treated as, he still didn't make the tournament? What will be the reaction to potentially Auburn winning the whole NIT?
It gives you something to be excited about going into next season. You don't feel good about this season. You completely underperformed. You had a roster that was way too talented to miss the tournament. But you recognize, it didn't go our way. But we made the most of it. And we have something. We feel like we're building something. Whereas, think about, like, if you just called it quits after being left out, you have nothing to hang your hat on. So I think it's more of I think you get a little, you don't call the season a success, but you have excitement going into 2027.
It's a whole lot better winning the NIT than losing to Norfolk State at home in the first round of the NIT.
Yeah.
I
think the most underrated part is Stephen Pearl gets to experiment with some new fits for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Tries to find out what he's actually got on the roster going forward.
I was saying actual outfits, getting to try out the raincoat.
That was why. Was it raining in Auburn the other day? Is that why?
No, so they've moved to the neutral site now, which I forget where they moved it to, but yeah, it wasn't even at Auburn. It was just at some random venue. Maybe it was raining outside and he didn't want to take it. I don't know.
Was this Nevada, playing Nevada? That was, scroll down. No, that was in Auburn.
It was still in Auburn?
Wednesday, the 25th, March 25th.
Yeah, probably.
No. Yesterday was Illinois State. Was in Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis.
Which I don't like that they moved it away from MSG. It used to be such a cool thing there at the Garden, but whatever.
Now they're in Indianapolis. They did make it. Hey, they made it to Indianapolis, just like the rest of the Final Four teams.
There we go.
All right, let's finish this bad boy up by telling everybody about our friends at Purple Turtle Roofing. At Purple Turtle Roofing, we're not just another contractor. We're your neighbor and your advocate when it comes to protecting your home or business. With years of hands-on experience, top-tier certification, and a commitment to excellence, we've built a reputation as Alabama's go-to roofing solution. We specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacements, insurance claim support, and more. Visit them online today at roofturtle.com for all of their products and services. It doesn't matter if you've got a metal roof or a shingle roof. They'll come out and inspect your roof, make sure that you are good to go for the spring storm season that we are currently in. Call them today at 877-787-6635 to schedule your free roof inspection or visit them online at roofturtle.com. Roofing with heart, built to last. Purple Turtle Roofing. All right, Theo, lay it on me. I was driving to Parts Unknown last night listening to Roger Hoover. By the way, Roger, man, 10 out of 10. Great play-by-play on the radio. Roger Hoover for Crimson Tide Sports Network, A+ always, and he was again last night as Alabama was jumping right on top of the Oklahoma Sooners, opening up the series, the weekend series, with a big victory. And how many is that in a row? 3, 6.
That's 7
8?
in a row in SEC play, Joe. It might be time to party like it's 1999. That's the last time Alabama's won 7 straight in conference play. That's also the last time Alabama's been to Omaha.
Wild, then. Brady Neal was going crazy last night. What was the give us the rundown of last night's 10-7 victory over the Oklahoma Sooners?
Last night was just bizarre, man. I put the game on. I was making my dinner, so I'm getting my plate ready. I hear like, okay, they're about to get underway. So I'm walking into the room, and I miss one pitch. So I'm like, usually that's whatever. Well, the one pitch was Bryce Fowler taking a ball over the left field wall, and that set the tone for the day. First pitch goes out of there. Alabama scores another that run. Brady Neal should have hit a home run. That ball somehow, some way, was not ruled a home run when it very clearly cleared the wall. They reviewed it, said it didn't. Instead, it ended up being a triple. So whatever. That was kind of bizarre. But Alabama would score 2 in the first, setting up the second where things just went nuclear. Bunch of guys get on, brings up Bryce Fowler, who hits another home run. That's 2 home runs, 4 RBI, and 2 at-bats. And then just everyone starts going crazy. Brady Neal gets another hit. LeBron gets on base. We had Jason Torres hit a home run, which Torres's home run was actually the first, the first pitch of the new batter's at bat. So Oklahoma just couldn't stop Alabama at all those first 2 innings. Justin Osterhaus added 1 more home run. So that's 4 home runs through 2 innings. Alabama jumps out to a 10-1 run.
Whoa. Hold on.
Yeah.
So Osterhaus has found life?
Yeah, no, Osterhaus has really settled in. His OPS, I think, is just shy of 800 right now.
Okay.
He's settled in, and, that's what Brady Neal told me he was going to do. He's like, yeah, you're going to look around, and all of a sudden he's going to be nearing 300 in SEC play. He's settled in. He is a big piece for this team now. And definitely, like, you look, batting out of the 7 hole really gives you life a lot of times. So this team is settling in, but the story of the game, in my eyes, was Brady Neal. Neal goes 4-4 with a walk, home run short of the cycle, which he should have had the home run instead of the triple, like I said earlier. But I've officially seen my first Brady Neal Golden Spikes post, which is interesting. Regardless of if he gets that, he is very much in the mix to be named an All-American. What Neal is doing, he looks like a first-round draft pick. He looks like the guy he did out of high school. And it is such a boost for this team, man. Justin LeBron is going to continue to do Justin LeBron things, but Brady Neal may be the best hitter on this lineup right now. Alabama recorded, I think it ended up being just 2 hits after the second inning, but it didn't matter. Oklahoma added a bunch of runs throughout, ended up going from 10-1 to 10-7. They had the tying run on deck in the bottom of the 9th, but it didn't matter. Matty Heiberger came into the game, recorded the final out, gave Alabama the win. Just overwhelmingly positive vibes right now around this team, man.
Well, really, really exciting. 7 SEC games in a row. Still 2 more games left in this series, so it could turn around and go into the Oklahoma Sooners' favor. But you got to be feeling really, really good if you're an Alabama baseball fan, and especially with the bumps in the road in the last little bit of the first third of the year. So Theo, contextualize this for the dummies who don't pay attention to college baseball. Where do you put Alabama right now today in the SEC standings? Obviously, you're not according to what the standings actually say, but where would you rank this team? Are they playing like the best team in the SEC? Are they playing like the 5th best team? Because we all know if you're 5th in the SEC, you're still like top 8 in the country, top 10 in the country. You're still really, really dang good. Where would you put this team's play over the last several weeks in the SEC standings for you?
Alabama might be the hottest team in the country right now. That's not an overstep. I mean, you are playing phenomenal baseball. You've beaten 3 straight ranked opponents, right? A Florida team that just got a series sweep, an Auburn team that, recovers from the sweep to, I believe I don't know if they run ruled them, but they beat Arkansas pretty good last night. Like, this conference is so stacked, and Alabama's handling everyone. And look, I don't think, color me very surprised if Alabama goes through and somehow sweeps Oklahoma. You're going to have the win streak end one of these days. You very well might lose the series. But regardless of how that happens, this Alabama team is legit. I feel very, very good about there being a Tuscaloosa regional. I also think that it's officially time to talk about, well, maybe we're getting a Tuscaloosa super regional.
Ooh.
Things can flip very, very fast.
Well,
this team
Theo, I remember
talented enough and performing at a high enough level and has faced the adversity and has responded to it to the point where I can say with confidence that this team has what it takes to get to Omaha.
Somewhere in the middle of America.
This team has really exceeded my expectations that I had for them preseason. And certainly, with your back against the wall, approaching a breaking point, the response has been incredible. Ooh. Tyler Fay, and a big part of this, I think kind of the last main thing I have, like Tyler Fay. How was this guy a walk-on? How? This guy is going and out-dueling any Friday night ace. That's 3 straight phenomenal performances. He went 6, giving up 4 runs, so the numbers dipped a little bit as he allowed 7 hits, but it didn't matter, right? When you get that kind of run support and you can kind of pitch without feeling that stress, he just continues to impress, man.
We'll keep following Theo Fernandez for all the baseball coverage. Follow him at Theo Fernandez _. Forecast. Current forecast calling for postseason baseball in Tuscaloosa. And how exciting would that be? So we've got a lot of season left to go, and Theo is going to be covering it for us at BamaCentral.com. Another game today against the Oklahoma Sooners, this time at 1 o'clock. So midday game. Enjoy your Good Friday watching some Alabama baseball. We've had a lot of fun with you guys today. We're going to be back on Monday talking about the weekend that was. Alabama softball lost yesterday to Texas 9-1. So we'll see if they can bounce back and get that series back on track here in Tuscaloosa. We will talk about all kinds of things from the weekend on Monday on the BamaCentral YouTube channel, Facebook page, on Apple Podcast, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. We appreciate everybody who likes, reviews, subscribes, sends the show to their friends. We appreciate everybody who checks out roofturtle.com for all of your roofing needs. We had a lot of fun with you guys today on the program. We'll talk to you on Monday right here on BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com.